said, there's gifts inside of you that you have no idea that are there yet. Yeah. And when you give your relationship with God, when you start a relationship with God, and then you give him more of that in this ongoing relationship, he starts to uncover those things. Now, when we discover those gifts, sometimes we think it's going to look like this and that because of either other people have had, that's what we have role models that they've done it a certain way. I didn't fit the same mold that maybe a full-time youth pastor did. God was showing me it's okay to be different. It's okay because I have a unique call on your life. It's not going to look like somebody else's.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to the Faith Ignite podcast, and I'm so excited you decided to take a couple minutes out of your day to spend with us. We're so truly grateful that you would do such a thing. And hey, before we jump into today's episode, I'm going to ask you to do a few things. Hey, if you're new to this podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, I would ask that you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. That way you can continue to be plugged in and continue to be able to see new content that's released so your faith can be built up. And then secondly, if you want to become a financial partner of this ministry, you can follow the link below. It'll take you to our website, and you can partner with us there to help us take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. And then lastly, hey, if you have something going on in your life, we would love to know about it. Just drop a comment below, reach out to us on social media, send us an email, reach out to us on different platforms. We just want to know what's going on in your life so we can be able to stand in faith with you to be able to see the manifestation of what it is that you are believing God for. And so now that we have all of that out of the way, today we have a really cool guest with us in the building. Our guest today is a native of Tulsa, Oklahoma, born and grew up here, and for a brief stint, went down to Denton, Texas for school, and then found his way back here to Oklahoma. And now he is a very passionate man that loves God and being able to use that passion to be able to help and serve and disciple other people. Every Friday, faithfully, he's serving at a local school to be able to build champions in the Lord. And then also throughout the week, he's discipling men personally, one-on-one, so that they can be able to follow and walk with Christ and be able to be effective champions for Christ. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our guest, Mr. Todd Clifton.
Hi there. Man, you're really good on that intro.
And that was off the fly.
That's good.
Man, Todd, thank you so much for taking some time to be able to share and dissect. I mean, I've known the outskirts of the Todd Clifton story, and so I'm excited to be able to sit down with some popcorn and be able to, go over and see what God has done in your life.
Okay,
and
you
so
got popcorn?
I'm about to have some right now. And so, Todd, one way we like to start every podcast off. Who do I have the pleasure of sitting with? Who is Todd Clifton?
That's a big question. It's like when someone's like, "Hey, what do you do?" A lot of people, we're in a social setting. What do you do? And that's an answer. We equate what we do a lot, but I feel like my hope has been that the key thing that I would say, I'm a son of the Most High God, first of all, and then hopefully just a good steward of what He's placed in my hands. So, my relationship with God is, I try to make that first and foremost, like we should, of course. But as far as how that plays out, is just that stewardship that God's given me. You mentioned already that my passion has been ministering to high school students, junior high, any student now, college students as well. But I would say how I fund that passion comes in a lot of different ways. From in real estate now, I've been in landscaping for basically all my life, and now I'm doing. Well, I've done a lot of adventure wilderness trips for young people, and now working with an organization that we actually work with local high schools and taking them out in the wilderness, talking about leadership and things like that. So a lot of different things. So you never know what hat I'm going to wear today. And when my mom was alive, she would say, I always joke that when people ask me what I do, I say, well, my mom doesn't even know, because, it can change from one day to the next. And so, but, that's, I think that was something I think I saw even my brother and sister and, what they did. And, I never wanted a desk job or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to, be free. And so I realized I wasn't going to be working for someone initially, just like
Yeah.
punching the clock.
Yeah.
And so God kind of has provided a lot of different opportunities to
Amen.
earn money, but have not only the money, but to be able to have the time to go do the ministry
Yeah.
that God has called me to do. So,
Amen.
so that's a little bit basics.
So I'm curious. So at what point, because I know since I met you, it was always the Todd I met was the Todd that was always serving and discipling young men. But I'm curious, when did faith become real to you? At what point did Christ grab a hold of your heart, and at that point you were on fire and you didn't look back?
Yeah, I would say there's kind of two probably initial times that I can point to, besides all the other thousands of times that your faith is moved. But very early on, I was telling the guys at my Bible study actually last night that my faith didn't really become real until, well, of course, when I received Christ in 7th grade.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up in the church, but there was something about, and that's probably why I continue to do is being out separate from, going on a retreat or and hearing the gospel message preached from my youth pastor, Dick Reed, and for the first time it just landed. Like, and I'd probably heard it 100 times, thousands of times being in church as a kid, but it just landed. And so that began that. But really, it wasn't till, as far as kind of my faith really saying, oh, this is a whole nother level, was when we went on a missions trip with our youth. It was kind of one of the first times we went on a missions trip, and we would go to Mexico at the time. And I realized, and we were helping build a wall and in this trash dump in Mexico, I forget where, right outside El Paso. And I realized it energized something in me, because I realized my faith wasn't just something I believe. It was something I could do.
Yeah.
It was, I could use these hands, my sweat from my brow, to do something good and show my faith. And so that stirred something up in me that it really stuck with me. And so I, was really loved to do missions with my church ongoing. But then I would say the time that awakened me, I'll just say this, because I think there's times that we don't know what's in us. And I tell the young guys all the time, I told them today at lunch at Memorial, I said, there's gifts inside of you that you have no idea that are there yet. Yeah. And when you give your relationship with God, when you start a relationship with God, and then you give him more of that in this ongoing relationship, he starts to uncover those things. And so for me, when I was graduating high school, and that summer I was getting ready to go to college at North Texas, I had a buddy of mine in their youth group. He said, "Hey, Todd, do you want to come help out with the junior high students?" And I'm like, "Why?" Like, I'm just like, "Why would I do that?" Like, he said, "Well, it's a good time. They really need some help." And so I went, and I just had a blast. Junior high students, they're just fun, and they just look up to you. And so that awakened something in me, and I started volunteering and went to the fall camp. When I went off to college, I came back and volunteered with my church at this camp. And I remember I have this journal, and I had never really journaled before, but I think I still have it somewhere. But I remember writing, "God, what are you doing here? I feel like you've awakened something. I feel like there's this new calling on my life." And I remember writing that down, and I've seen it in the past. But that's where God took my faith to another level and saying, "Oh, Todd, I have something more and greater." You were thinking, okay, go to business, go to college to learn how to run a business better. I'd already started mowing yards, and we had a lot of stuff going on. So that's what my limited thinking was. Okay, I'm going to be just a businessman. Yeah. but he said, no, 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 I have something even more planned for you. And so that kind of began that faith journey. And then it was like, as I'm through college, people started just seeing that, so I get the giftings in me, even though I felt so inadequate. Like I was like, I'd be in Bible studies. I'm like, I hope the kids don't ask me a question. Like, cause I was like, I would hear other people, they'd be able to read the Bible. And even when I was in high school, I'm like, they're reading the Bible. I'm like, and they said, well, what did y'all get out of that? And I'm like, they would be so eloquent. And, and I'm like, I don't know. God's good. Like, and, but nonetheless, God gave me a gift to connect with young people and just continue that relationship. And I knew they were looking to me as a role model. Yeah. And I realized, I don't know if that's a good idea. Like, I know it's like, I need to get better myself. And I realized that helped me spur me on. God, I want to be honoring you with who I am. And so anyway, that kind of began the journey. But I would say those two steps that have really increased my faith and having to rely on God was serving students through the years. And
And so I'm also curious, like, even just kind of as you kind of share, like, at this point, you said something interesting where, like, when you like our mentor teaches us, the gifting that you have, you're born with that. And then, like you said, when you turn your life over to Christ and you start, when you ask him to have more of his presence in your life, that's when you start to uncover that. And so just seeing like how, like our mentor says, like, you would never know your gifts until you start serving, until you start serving people. And to see like how you have initially thought, okay, I guess I could be a youth leader, but you've constantly been, I don't know, probably 30, 40 years now, or 30 years have been constantly serving people. You've been constantly doing that. Now you're able to see the gifting and talents that God has placed in you.
Yeah, and I would say this, now, when we discover those gifts, sometimes we think it's going to look like this and that because of either other people have had, that's what we have role models that they've done it a certain way. God has called them and things like that. And I remember, taking a position right out of college and saying, God, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to serve you. And I think I want to do this youth ministry thing. Yeah. And I remember being in our final class when we were senior at college, and we went around saying, what we want to do. And one person was like, oh, they're going to start this business. One guy just before me is like, yeah, I want to open up a strip club. And I'm just like, okay, and it's getting to me. And I'm like wrestling with God. It's like, God, I really want to do what you want. And I felt like youth ministry call. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I think, how about you, Todd? I think I want to be a youth pastor. And they're like, everyone's looking at, and so all I knew was to go back to Tulsa. Yeah. And a local Methodist church here was hiring. And they said, Todd, they want you to apply. And I'm like, what? Me? Wow. I'm this young punk. Yeah. And so I got the job and it just felt like I was in the right place, the right time, like growing the most in my faith and relationship with God, because you just have so many things that you're growing in as especially a full-time youth pastor position. Yeah. But I realized after that year, I was there for just a year. And I won't go into all the details, but we could talk for days about all the fun things that I got to learn being a young youth pastor. But I realized after that, I was like, God, what's next? What's next? And I realized I didn't fit the same mold that maybe a full-time youth pastor did, because I still had this entrepreneur side of me that loved business, loved working hard with my hands. Yeah. I loved kind of the freedom of that, being my own boss. And then I was on staff, another time with another church, and I'm like, I have to sit in meetings. Oh, I'm just like, oh, let's go do this. Like I want to go hang out with some kids. I don't want to be in a meeting for a half of the day, whatever. I want to, so I realized, okay, Todd, God was showing me it's okay to be different. It's okay, because I have a unique call on your life. It's not going to look like somebody else's. Yeah. And so it's been fun it's been an exciting journey
Yeah.
of walking with God and saying, well, okay, what's the next step, Father?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so, yeah.
So I mentioned in my impromptu bio that
Yeah.
you have been serving faithfully, and I remember being at I think it was 2 meetings that I went to, or 1 or 2. I think it's probably back in probably 21. I came on a Friday.
Yeah.
And
yes,
they
I do
came at
remember that.
to Champion Builders. But you've been at this. How long have you been doing Champion Builders?
Well, I've been at ministry there at that school since 1997.
Wow.
I graduated there in 1990.
Wow.
So God called me there through a ministry called Young Life that
Okay.
most people know of. And actually, in our youth group was said, Todd, you need to be a Young Life leader. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't. And well, you're already like that. You hang out with kids. And so I fell in love with the whole Young Life model. And so I was, began that. And I was kind of part-time staff there with them for a while with the connection with Asbury as well. But then, we were doing programs and trying to get kids to come to the club, and we're going to the school and we're doing all these things. And there was a little bit of frustration. Like, you find out kids are busy and like we all are, and you're trying to get them to come to another thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, and there were some guys that would say, Todd, we want to grow in God. We want to grow in a relationship with God. And I said, well, what if I came to lunch because I had freedom because I was my own boss?
Yeah.
To be able to go to lunch. I said, I'll bring you some food and we'll sit down and talk what it means to be a man, God's perspective on that. Yeah. So we called them man talks back then. Yeah. And because, I want to learn how to be a man, right? You want to be a man? Yeah, and then I'm feeding you food that I bring in that's not cafeteria food.
Yeah.
And so that began the man talks while I was doing Young Life. And we would the administration just favor with them, let me come in, because we had earned the right. We'd been there for so long, just do ministry. And so that was probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 years ago that we started doing that. And then Young Life dissolved there, but I kept doing what we call now Champion Builders.
Okay.
Because I was just frustrated that, we would try to get kids to come, go to camp in the summertime, and because we knew that would be an opportunity for God to get them away from their peer groups, and really hear the gospel message. And so, but it was so frustrating because coaches would say, well, you got to come to this tournament game. You got to be on this weekend. You got to practice more. And some of the coaches were good, but they're still, because they had the pressure of getting their guys trained up to be seen. And so, Champion Builders was kind of born out of that kind of thing. It's like, we train young men, students, to be champions in a game, but are we training them to be champions in life? And I said, and so God was just giving me this vision. It's like, okay, we're going to have coaches to kind of help encourage them. We're going to try to disciple and expect great things. Like their coaches expect this excellence.
Right.
Why don't we expect that for them to be excellent with God? And so it's like, so that's kind of what came out of Champion Builders. And so that's what I tell the guys in the hall. It's like, hey, do you want to be great? You want to be a champion?
Wow.
And they come, and I just say, hey, there's free pizza. So, and that's the joy of it. Like with Young Life and with Asbury, we do ministry. I was program. I was worship. We do all this video. We do all this time trying to figure out all the program and do skits and music and playing the guitar. And I realized with this, the program was this: show up, love on them, and give them some food.
Yeah.
And then the doors just open, where if you show up, you care, you give them something to eat. The food was the program, and I was like, that's easy.
Yeah.
I was, and so that's just been, it's been a blessing to see what God's done and it continues to do.
So even with Champion Builders, since you've been doing it for so long, you've probably seen you have probably stories for days and seen the impact of what it is that you've been doing on the lives of so many. Because I can only imagine when you when you're in the school and you're helping and you're ministering to kids, like they come from all backgrounds. You don't know what their home life is like, but they come from all backgrounds. Like you said, now that you provide the essentials, food, you give them something other than cafeteria. Like they're like, you know what, I'd rather be up here than down there. And so now that door is open. And so like, what are some of the what were some of the benefits, some of the stories, some of the things that you've encountered when you had the opportunity to minister to these young men and to see like the impact that it had over their life?
So definitely I think of Jacob, who was a baseball player at Memorial, and we a lot of times we get a whole group of students, like either the football team would start coming or the basketball team, but this year it was a lot of the baseball players, and so they're just, hey buddy, you need to come up to Champion Builders, and they've got free pizza, And so he always said, I was just showing up for the pizza, but slowly he would just keep coming, and he says, I just heard more and more of the good news. That we just share the gospel. We talk about Jesus, and then he told me, and I recently, I remember him saying this, is when you said one time, Todd, that I love you, he said there was like, he was like, you're not, that just affected him so much. For one, because of the relationship with his dad, where his dad never said that, or at least he doesn't remember. And he had a really estranged relationship with his dad, and so just me coming in and being, hearing that from a male, it was huge for him. And just slowly, he eventually gave his life to Christ, and he ended up helping, coming and being a coach with us as well, and he's been involved with the Bible study. But it was just, that's one story. And then there's kind of a recent story, a young man, Gannon, I met him in the hallway at Memorial, and one of the ways that I would connect with guys, which was, they're always, if you offer a way to make some money, they're like, yeah. So with my landscape business, I would at times need guys to help me do something, and it was a good excuse to get to know them as well. And so I said, well, hey, I need some help putting some Christmas lights. We were doing Christmas lights this several years ago. And so he's like, yeah. But little did I know, his life situation was not good. And I won't go too many details, but just he built, we built a relationship, just would encourage him. And he's actually now just kind of a situation with his family. His mom passed away several years ago, and he was living with his dad, and his dad's situation was not good. And I got to meet him, and so he ended up staying. The thing was, well, hey, it's better maybe that he stays with me. And so Gannon was living with me for about off and on a little bit. And then this last year, during his high school senior year, he lived with me. Wow. And so it was a growing experience for both of us, and a blessing. And I always kind of joke that the good thing I had being a single guy and working with students is I could hang out and do things with them, but I didn't have to pay for them too much. And so this time, because God sent me, Gannon, so I get to learn a little bit more, kind of what more parents are dealing with, and the ongoing drama that can be with a teenager. And so, but it's been a blessing, and it's just cool to see how God has moved in his life. Yeah. And he's grown tremendously. Now he's graduated and is working. Wow. And but he's still living with me, and he gets to pay rent now. I said, well, when you're 18, guess what? You get to pay rent. I'm trying to develop those things. So anyway, so those are just a couple examples. But man, that's the thing is, I'm excited when Jesus comes back. Maybe he'll bless me before that, but just to remember all the stories.
Yeah.
And luckily, there's guys that come and say, Todd, do you remember this? You did this for me. And I'll get some messages every once in a while, or a phone call. And I'm like, oh, it's like, yeah, I do remember that now that you said it. But, so it's lots of blessings through the years.
So I'm curious. So like I said, you've been doing this for so long. What keeps you going back? Because I know faithfulness is not a virtue that we see a lot in today's age and today's society. But you've been doing this, like you said, since 1997. You've been in the school. You've been working with youth. What keeps you continuing to show your faith on display, to be able to come back, show up week after week, day after day for these kids?
Okay. So, I would say this. I early on wanted to have a family. And I was most excited about having a son. And, and having kids, and that whole experience. I remember just dreaming about that when we were sitting on the beach and when we were in high school. Oh, yeah, you're going to have kids and we're going to do this and stuff like that. And I started volunteering in youth ministry and just fell in love with that, and just the giftings that I felt like God had called me to do. And I realized as things got on, because my mom would say, "Oh, who are you dating?" And it's just like at times I just wouldn't date very much, and I'd date in there, and I'm like, I don't have time for this. I'm gonna go do the ministry,
Yeah.
And so I found out kind of through the years, it's like I have so much joy doing what I do. I mean, there was times where every single night of the week I was either volunteering with my church, or doing a Young Life leaders meeting, or we got to do a Bible study, campaigners, then discipleship for the kids at the church, and then a campaigners group for the Young Life kids, and then there was going to the games on a Friday night or on a Tuesday night. And, so I was so much involved with different things, and I just loved it. I was energized by it. Yeah. And several years ago, I don't know where, I think maybe it was John Piper pointed it out to me or whatever. So God's speaking to eunuchs. It's like, don't be upset that you're a dry tree or not being able to kids or don't have kids. But he gives a promise in there. He's like, those eunuchs who basically commit themselves to my Sabbaths, who honor me, who, basically I forget what else it says, but it basically says they will have a name greater than sons and daughters, basically. And basically what I took that to be is they will have blessing greater than their own sons and daughters. Sons and daughters are a blessing. The Bible talks about that. But that part was like, if a single person commits themselves to the Lord, they're going to have just as great blessings if they're doing it unto the Lord. And I feel like that spoke just to me and what I've experienced all these years, where I didn't have my own flesh and blood, but I had many sons.
Yes.
Right? And so I feel like I've experienced that blessing with many young men through the years, and I remember God speaking to me early on about that. It's like, if I had my own flesh and blood, I would probably smother them to death, because I would, hey, let's go do that, So just having so many young people to be able to minister to, as I see it, like God's like, I've got you in the right place.
Yeah.
So
having that drive and doing what you've been doing for the past, like you said, since 97, you've been doing this. If you could go back, and I guess we'll wrap up on this, but if you could go back and give some advice to your younger self, or any one of those young men that you would have had cross your path in the past, or people that you haven't met yet that will cross your path in the future, what advice would you give them, or your younger version of yourself?
Well, I feel like, the classic is, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. and all these things shall be added unto you. I mean, that's my go-to with encouraging young people, because it's like we can get focused on so many other things, worries, and that's like, and whether I have a girlfriend or not, that's all the kids think about. It's like, but seek ye first the kingdom of God, and what He wants, and God's going to make your way, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your crooked road straight, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're seeking God, if you're trusting Him, like, you could do so many different things. Even you could think in your limited understanding, this is what I need to do. But I found for me is when it wasn't exactly what God wanted me to do, He would like send somebody to kind of bump me back. I'm going down this crooked road, but He'd like straighten it. It's like, okay, I want you to do this here too.
Yeah.
And so to me, if you're seeking God, if you're trusting Him, don't just rely on your limited understanding, but in all your ways say, God, help me. Then He's going to take you on an adventure that you never even dreamed of before. So that's what I would say.
Wow. Todd Clifton, ladies and gentlemen. Todd, man, thank you so much for, first off, coming on the podcast. Secondly, it is such a blessing and a breath of fresh air to see like the work that you do, because although it may be thankless now, but when it matters most, when you stand before Christ and you stand before God, that's when it's going to matter the most, because you would have done your job and you would have taken the gospel to all nations. One person that you would have discipled can then go ahead and touch another nation that you would probably never visit. Right. But the work that you're doing now, like I said, though it may be thankless now, it is going to reap rewards, so many rewards in the future. And so, man, it's just a blessing and a breath of fresh air to see like your commitment to serving other people, not necessarily what you can get out of it or what you can do, but to see how you can be giving back to other people. That is a blessing to see.
Amen. Appreciate that.
Of course,
Thanks
man.
for having me on here.
Of course, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to wrap this episode up. But like I said in the beginning, hey, if this podcast has helped you, shaped you, encouraged you, motivated your faith, hey, I would ask that you, like I said, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And then secondly, if you want to become a financial partner of this ministry, you can follow the link below. It'll take you to our website. You can partner with us there and help us take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. And then lastly, if you have something that's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. You can drop a comment below. You can reach out to us on social media, send us an email, however you want to. But just let us know what's going on, or we can be able to stand in faith with you and be able to partner with you in prayer and see the manifestation of what you're believing for. And so, like I said, we're going to sign off for today. But this has been Faith Ignite, and we'll see you guys next time.